Talk about technical difficulties. John, how's it going?
Yo, I heard some playing like someone stubbed their toe real bad. So that'll be my intro music for the rest of time. What's going on, man? First time caller, long time listener. Nice to be on.
I love that you said that as Mark's face flew past in the emotes, because he always says that every single episode as well. We were talking just before the stream. We were like, we've gotten so used to, as streamers, things just fucking up. And I hit the intro, and the only thing anyone heard was show at the very end.
With the beauty of live TV, live internet, live everything's gonna go wrong.
We usually start this by saying, there's a bunch of people in the chat that know you. There's a bunch of people that listen to this on Spotify that might not be on Twitch and stuff like that. So in your own words, introduce yourself to the tribe.
Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is John Garcia, aka Stay Puft. I am a host on Knotfest's Twitch channel, on their YouTube, on their social media sometimes, just doing content for them. On my own, I'm just a variety streamer on Twitch, listens to a lot of good heavy metal, a lot of good extreme music, and just loves to spread, this gospel of heavy metal, of heavy music that we like all so much. I think that's about it. That's the short and sweet version of it.
The cool thing is, there are a ton of people that like metal, and I think you and I had this conversation when I was on your show. There's a ton of people that like metal, but there aren't a ton of people that go out of their way to promote and support and fly the flag of metal. Some people are just passive listeners. I like my my Lamb of Gods and I like my Metallicas, but no one's digging deep. But you have that. So let's start with that. Why? Why are you crazy, John?
Dude, I ask myself that question every single day. I don't fucking know. No, honestly, it's just been one of those things that has always been present in my life, I think, right? Like, thinking back to when I first got into music and how, your Iron Maidens and Metallicas and Nevermores and, whoever's of the world really, lit a fire inside of my chest that made me want to just, run really fast, scream really loud, binge all this music all the time. And it's what I wanted to do for a while growing up. Like, I always wanted to be a touring musician or a touring guitarist, singer, I don't know, lighting guy, whatever it would do. But, I was also balancing that between, real world expectations and, going to college and all that other stuff. And I never really felt like I found my way, to be honest, right? So, I did the real world thing for a little while after, quitting bands and going to do the thing that I got my college degree to do. And then when it kind of wobbled a whole bunch and I spent most of my 20s, not being stable or trying to figure out what I wanted to do, or just, doing stuff so that I could pay bills or have a lifestyle where I wasn't, worrying about if I'm going to be able to pay bills in the next paycheck and stuff like that. Just started doing that thing. And when the pandemic came around, it really put a lot of things in perspective, and I had been trying to get out of the job that I was in for quite a while already. And, because I worked in the news industry, working on one of the most newsworthy times of our lives, put a lot of strain on, my mental health and everything like that. And so going back to try and alleviate that, I was just falling back into my records, falling back into music, and really for the first time in a while, really actively paying attention to all of the things that are coming out, on a week to week or month to month basis. And doing that, it was kind of an eye-opening experience, because I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of good stuff out there right now, and I just want to listen to all of it. And after many months of doing that, I couldn't keep it inside anymore. I had to, relieve that pressure valve a little bit, because the only person I had to talk to is my girlfriend, who, likes some heavy music and likes some of the music that I listen to. But, if I go on and on about how I think Iron Maiden's Killers can be a concept album, she zones out real fast, right? It's not, not that type of interest or anything like that, which is why the online communities and Discords and Twitch channels that I had been a part of were really helpful. grateful. And then when I was able to get out and just spew all of the backlog of nonsense that was in my brain out, it just, it felt right. And I just wanted to do that and figure out a way to make some part of music or heavy metal something that I did rather than, sitting in a newsroom and being behind a computer watching the world go by and everything like that. I mean, I still think I do that a whole lot, right? I work from home most of the time and I'm in my little office, but I'm doing something that I enjoy a lot more than what I was before. There's a long-winded answer, but I think
it's a good fucking answer, dude. There's a lot of things that changed for me personally because of the pandemic, including the streaming, right? The band couldn't play a bunch of shows. Everybody knows the story. I've already wad about it enough times. One of the things that I started realizing that I missed out on, that a lot of people from my generation, like for example, for Derpy Paws, our community manager, I've missed out on like online communities because I was never an online like guy, and just meeting a bunch of people from around the world that have different backgrounds, vastly different opinions, vastly different upbringings, whatever. Yeah. And just putting everything aside and just going, you know what, we just like busting balls and listening to metal. Like I don't care about anything else. But also just the ability to like change someone's opinion. You were talking about, talking to your girlfriend about Killers as a concept album and trying to express yourself and your like opinions when it comes to that music. But now on your streams and on Knotfest and your personal channel, when you're talking about something, you can introduce someone to a band that they've never heard of, or change someone's mind about an album that they had preconceived notions on. Or is there any influencer any comments on the influencer culture as of now?
Well, I think if I were to ever start referring to myself as an influencer, I might have to throw myself in front of traffic. But I've had this conversation about this because, like all things aside, I think there is like a little bit of like micro influencing there as far as like my community is not super big. We don't have like a huge ton of reach, right? But whether it's through Knotfest or my streaming or anything like that, there have been a lot of times where, someone doesn't like a band or thought that they didn't like a band, but because they're listening to 4 or 5 songs in a row that they've never sat down to listen to, they're like, wait a second, holy shit, I didn't think that they were anything like this. This band rules, right? I've had people discover bands. I've had people finally click with albums, and I've done that myself too. There have been some bands that I haven't, I've been on the edges of, we all have these bands that, like, you've heard about a lot of times, but you've never like dived into their discography or like really taken the time to really sit down and listen to them. And through the last couple of years of doing that, like I've been able to be introduced to so many more stuff than like I've ever dreamed of, I think. So I think as far as like whatever type of influence and everything like that, I think that there is some of it there. But one of the big reasons that I started doing what I was doing, on top of just, the selfish reasons, right, that like I need to get all of this thing out and I just need to do something with all of this shit, is because like I didn't from about the time that I was about like 22, 23 or so, when I was done with college, I quit the band that I was trying to do stuff with, and like moved on into the real world and tried to do my stuff. I didn't pay attention as much to heavy metal and like the current goings on and stuff like that. Like I had a subscription in my car to Sirius XM's radio, right? So I listened to their metal station a lot, and I picked up a few bands here and there, Baronesk, Vellertalk, Clutch, a couple of bands here and there. But it wasn't until about 2018 or so that I really started to want to dive in and really want to start paying attention more. And like, okay, what are the podcasts that are talking about releases? Who are the new bands that are up and coming? What are the old bands doing? Like who's the it band or whatever else it might be? And I think a lot of that was because I felt a little bit disconnected, because it felt like, despite the fact that metal is, coined as for everyone, right? And it's a, counterculture type thing that, you can have your own individuality and everything like that. I didn't feel like there was a lot of that going on, right? It was like the Metallica lyric. You can do it your own way if it's done just how I say. Like, yeah, you could be, like whatever metal you want, but god damn it, say you don't like Slayer, you're a piece of shit and don't belong in this community, right? Like that type of stuff. And I wanted to foster an area, or at least find people that are okay with, controversial opinions as far as music goes, or can talk to people that really dislike bands that they really like, and they might dislike some other bands that they like, but they have those 3 or 4 bands where they have the commonality and just love the passion and the music and everything like that, away from gatekeeping and elitism and all that other stuff. So I think that that's probably one of the reasons why we've had some success, because Twitch, as you've just talked about and as you know, is one of those places where people are like, well, I don't give a fuck about anything. I just want to like listen to the music and find the cool stuff and find people that talk about it. So I think that there's a lot of that going on, and just, the ability to say like, hey, I haven't listened to this. Like, let's listen to this before, or find things to like out of things that you may not. Because I do a lot of, hey, I don't really like this band or this style of music, or this is not doing a whole lot for me personally, but I can hear somewhere in there that it might do something for someone that I know, or someone that is coming across this, so we'll put that out there. Not saying that I'm playing stuff that I think is bad or doesn't deserve to be up there, but I can find some value in things that may not jive with me, that may jive with other people. So I think that kind of gets into a lot of it, as far as, I think people are appreciative as far as having an open mind, whether it's listening to stuff that you wouldn't, or showing them stuff that they may not. And there's 100%. A lot of, this is not for me, but that's cool. Like, I gave it a try. And that's all we ask, right? Yeah. I always say that I'll listen to anything once. At least I'll try.
We just have the explicit version of exactly what you said on this channel. We like to throw fuck that shit every once in a while, but we do say fuck that shit with an open mind. Like, a lot of people that do hate on the songs, or just disagree, or say skip, there you go, stick around and listen to it and kind of discuss their points, and everybody gets along. I mean, we've sat through several Creed songs on this channel over the last year. Several Creed songs. But you were saying something about that friction that you get with opinions,
I guess.
Unpopular opinions, that's the one.
Best way to put it.
Yeah. Unpopular opinions, which I feel is amplified tenfold when you're online. I mean, you could hate a band or dislike a band's album, but when you're online, it's fucking disgusting. Like, everybody, and I'm guilty of that too. Everybody just kind of amps up even the love and the hate. So having been someone that hasn't necessarily been in that realm before, was there a growing pains? Was there a learning curve when it came to that, or were you just like, hey, this is just another day with a bunch of metalheads on the internet?
So to be quite honest, that was actually one of the things that like stopped me from starting streaming earlier than I did. I, obviously through 2020, like all of our mental healths were not very good, but I just felt, especially towards the end of 2020 and then about the middle of 2021 is probably where I had like my bottoms as far as like the situation that we were in. And so I had a lot of like, well, what if someone like says they don't like this band, or says that because I like this band I'm a piece of shit that doesn't know anything, or like, I'm not qualified to be talking about metal, or all of that other stuff. You watch RuPaul's Drag Race, that inner saboteur, right, that talks to you, that belittles you and tells you things to stop you from being scared and growing and taking those next steps. And I've always dealt with insecurity like throughout most of my life, and I feel like I still do. And I'm always like one of my flaws as a person is I can get very defensive very easily. Like, I take everything personal when I shouldn't, and I recognize this now, right? And it's something that I work on to this day. But like getting online and like having your opinions bared out, and having that putting yourself out there for those, attacks or whatever was fucking scary for me, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. But then I just got over it and was like, well, you know what? Like, I sat down and thought that, well, who the fuck cares? Like, you don't need to. There's no master's degree in heavy metal, right? There's no quiz that someone has to take to say, like, yes, you are now certified to talk about the music and genre of heavy metal online. Congratulations. Like, there's none of that. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. There are going to be those people that are going to say some shit or like rile you up or bother you or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you can't let those people ruin your day or affect you or whatever else that it may be. And honestly, I haven't really gotten a whole lot of those. Most of the people that have come through have been like really welcoming, really nice. And like, there have been trolls here and there, people that, want to rile things up or get things started. But at the end of the day, I went through counseling sessions in 2020, and one of the things that the counselor told me was like, if someone's trying to go out of their way to make you feel like shit and to try and make you feel bad, it means that they feel bad about themselves and that there's something bigger going on there, and that the only thing that can give them joy is by tearing somebody else down. And by giving them the time of day or by letting it affect you, you're helping, you're showing them that that's the right thing to do, or that they can continue to do that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to give people time of day if it's not, a positive experience in my life or anything like that. So, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I guess to wrap everything up, I decided that I wasn't going to let the specter or the thought or the act of people, shitting on my opinions or my music tastes or whatever it is, deter me from doing something that I wanted to do. And at the end of the day, we all have shitty music tastes, everybody. Every single band that you like, everybody listening to this right now, someone in the world fucking hates and thinks that you're a piece of shit for listening to. And fuck those people. Because, like, it doesn't matter. Like, listen to what you want to listen to and don't be ashamed about it.
I love that Rami Lab Metal's in the chat because, oh, there you go, Drippy with the clap. Thank you, Drippy. I love that Rami Lab Metal is in the chat because anytime he plays anything, it's the most obscure sounding avant-garde prog black metal. And I'm just, and I'm always, and I love that he plays that stuff. Or when we have the link dump open or something, he plays a bunch of the songs that he likes. And I hate to admit whenever he's changed my mind about something. When I was like, all right, here we go again. This is another song Rami requested. This is going to be some avant-garde fucking time-changing song about angels or some shit. And then I start to like it. And I'm like, God damn it, Rami. I shouldn't have clicked that link, dude.
It's like you feel like your skin is just getting sandpapered off from the music that you're listening to. Yeah.
We have to ask this. I know the answer because I've asked you this on your show.
Yeah.
When you had me on, what the fuck is Stay Puft Mallow, John? What is going on there?
So my favorite movie growing up, and I guess still to this day, was Ghostbusters, 1984 classic starring Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and of course Bill Murray. And we won't forget about Ernie Hudson in there as well. So it was just always something that has like kind of underpinned my life in a small way. My dad even just recently this week sent me. He's been his project now that he's retired is like digitizing all of our like family photos and stuff like that are like in albums and everything. And he sent me a picture of my older brother and I painting Easter eggs. I couldn't have been more than like 4 years old maybe, and I'm wearing Ghostbusters pajamas in there. So if anyone is like questioning, like this goes back to the early days, everybody. But yeah, so Stay Puft Mallow was just literally, it was a gamer tag that I used on Xbox once I got an Xbox in college to play Call of Duty with some friends. And it was just like, well, I have a bunch of screen names, but I'm going to do that one. So when I got Twitch, it just kind of carried over that way. As I was getting in different Twitch channels and things like that, you just refer to people by their handles. So I just, hey, what's up, Stay Puft? How's it going, Stay Puft? Yo, this song is from Stay, like, that all that shit. So yeah. I kind of adopted that like persona, that mantle, that name when I did my Twitch channel because, I didn't know how long it was going to last, and I wasn't like, oh well, here's a show with all this branded stuff. No, we're going to do that. And it just kind of stuck. So now I'm in here, I like it as far as knowing who you're talking to is share in that regard. If I could be known as just like one name, I'll feel like I've done something with my life. But that's where I'm at this point of my career.
It's a much cooler reason for the channel name than the one we have. I just couldn't stop fucking muting people.
No, but see, that works, man, because that is like something that would not have happened if not of you doing your channel, right? That's organic. I think that's cool as shit.
The trajectory of your role in music and metal and stuff has drastically like exploded, and that's where I met you. You were already on Knotfest, and I was like, damn, like this guy's already like with 6-7 shows. He must be doing this for long. And then when I first spoke to you, you're like, yeah, it's probably like 3 months. Like,
yeah.
So how did Knotfest happen?
So when I started my Twitch channel, one of the I guess one of my inspirations, who very well, Adnan, because he's been on the show, was Bees from Mosh Talks, right?
Yes.
Like he was one of the first metal people that I saw on Twitch that was doing like spinning DJ stuff and playing music and everything like that. Because at that time, I think he started in like May of 2020, like May or early June or something like that. And during that time, right, that was right after like the first initial lockdowns and right at or before the George Floyd murders, where like that whole summer was just horrendous to live through for lots of people for a lot of different reasons. And so that was kind of my escape to go to, it was hard sometimes because he would start at like 1 p.m. my time and I would still be working at that time. But a lot of times I would like throw them on in the background at work to hear the music and feel the camaraderie and everything like that. Just join a little bit later afterwards or something like that. So that's kind of the flashpoint of starting to wade into metal on Twitch and join Discord servers and start actually talking to other human beings in the world about heavy metal and all that other stuff. So one of Bees' moderators at the time popped into a stream because I had put it on like a Discord server somewhere, and they popped in. I was doing a Christmas stream, very similar to the one that the last time that you were on the channel, just playing a bunch of heavy metal Christmas songs and stuff like that, raising money for charity and drinking a bunch of eggnog and getting drunk, being festive holidays, whatever. And it was a really good stream. Like I had only been doing this like 3 weeks at this point, if that, and had a fair amount of people in and having fun and, playing songs and listening to songs and all that other stuff. And the moderator turned out to be Mazza, who is, one of the producers on Knotfest. So after several months of hanging out on the channel and, developing a relationship and, getting to know each other and all that other stuff, he approached me and said, hey, is this something that you're wanting or willing to do either full time or like, what's the goal? What is this? And we talked about that a little while. And he was like, well, we're starting this thing on the Knotfest thing. I can't promise you anything, but let me get you in contact with the person who's doing it and we'll see if there's something there. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I have a conversation. They'll say like, you're a nobody. And then we'll just go from there. And after the conversation, they're like, yeah, you should be doing this and we'll give you this and, see how this goes and everything like that. And it just snowballed from there. Like I would have never in a million years guessed that after 4 or 5 months of streaming, just, find an opportunity to do something for like a bigger audience and get my name out there and do something where we're actually talking with bands and, doing something that is worth a damn rather than just like, jerking off on stream, not like actually jerking off on stream, but you know what I mean? Fucking
you guys, yeah, just for the record, there's no jerking off on
again, terms of service, everybody are a thing, but mentally masturbating all over the internet with our fucking heavy metal and everything like that. I always say that I was like very, very lucky, I suppose. There's just one of those things that 1 in a million, right place, right times. And man, the amount of imposter syndrome that I still deal with to this day for like, okay, well, like other people have been doing this for a really long time and yet I'm here. Oh God, like why me? Like all of that I've had to deal with and kind of grow through. And like you were talking about as far as like dealing with the haters or all that, like that goes into that. I don't know. I just kind of get on and do my thing, and everyone says that it like they enjoy what they're seeing, and like the people that I've interviewed say that it's good conversations and everything like that. So I just all right. Well, I'm gonna keep doing the thing that I'm doing, and if they give me more opportunities, then of course I'm not gonna say no, and that's kind of what happened as far as like the death metal roundtable that I did with Corpse Grinder and Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder and a few others. It was literally just a hey, do you want to do this type of thing, that like an email out of nowhere after because they had been talking to me about wanting to do more stuff and like get bigger things out there or whatever. And they sent me that, and I was like, I am absolutely not qualified to be talking to George Corpse Grinder Fisher about fucking death metal. Man has been playing death metal longer than I've been alive. Like, no way. And I was like, there's absolutely no way I could do this. Okay, yeah, let's do it. And then, it was a nervous wreck for a little while. But, and then you do it and everything's all right. And you just move on from there. So that's kind of how the whole Knotfest thing happened. Right place, right time. But, you develop your network. And what's that saying that luck is preparation, meeting opportunity, or whatever it was. Like I had been consistent on all of the days that I've been doing, as far as doing it 3 to 4 days a week, every other day for however long that was doing. And I just was able to, I guess, catch a small break that, doesn't happen to a whole lot of people. And I was able to kind of take advantage of that. And here I am today. So I don't know, like I feel very fortunate in a lot of ways. And a lot, go back to even just like playing a band and like playing bars or shows in like local scenes. Like that shit never happens. But, here we are. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm so kind of gobstruck at it. Like whenever I actually sit down and think about it, as far as like I was working a shitty job that I hated. Now I'm interviewing bands that I like really love and respect. What the fuck is life?
You never know when a door like that opens, but exactly what you said, that's where my brain immediately went, is without the preparation, without you being ready to take on that kind of opportunity, that kind of project, it would have never happened whatsoever. I do love that you brought up the death metal roundtable.
I figured we would get into it at some point, right?
You guys, for those that don't know, let's pull this up right here. Let's see a little bit about this. Let's see.
There he is.
You started some shit, John.
Look, I didn't start anything. I was just there.
So this is from Metal Injection. Chris Barnes despises what death metal vocals have become, refuses to elaborate. And I remember seeing this on Twitter, and I just went, what the fuck's going on? I started scrolling.
Yeah.
Look whose face that is.
Yeah.
Look whose face that is. And I was like, what did John do? What did Stay Puft get up to? I just watched a death metal podcast on YouTube that was done about a week ago with the top, quote unquote, death metal vocalists. It made me physically ill. I despise what the genre has become, Chris Barnes. And this was him talking about the death metal roundtable that you did on Knotfest.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that? How was your reaction to this happening? What was your reaction to this happening?
So at first I was like, I don't know. I was just like, do I shit my pants? Like, do I get nervous? Do I just get scared? What's going on? Because I found out about this because I happened to open Lambgoat to every couple of hours. I just kind of make my way through some of the online publications to see like what bands are they talking about? Is there anything that I can pick up? Is there, what's going on in the world of heavy metal and stuff like that? I opened Lambgoat, and on their front page, I was like, hey, that looks familiar. What? And it was that screenshot that you just shared, right? I was like, wait, that's my face. What the fuck what did I do? Right? So like I read the thing and I saw that it was, Chris Barnes basically yelling at the sky a little bit. And I was like, oh, Well, that's neat. Like that's a cool little like boost of our little video there and everything like that. And then maybe 10 minutes later, I started getting a bunch of messages on Instagram being like, dude, you're on Blabbermouth. Dude, have you seen this? Like, hey, what's going like, yeah, have you heard Chris Barnes talking shit? And it's just like, oh my God, what is going on? And like, I don't know. It was one of those things that I'm still like a not a known quantity. I'm a nobody, right? And none of this shit was about me, right? Chris Barnes wasn't physically getting ill at me, I don't think. And there were like, with all the people in there, Black Dahlia Murder, Undeath, Cannibal Corpse, all that stuff. It's like, all right, well, I'll let them do their thing. I'm not a shit stirrer, Adnan. I can't fucking, like, I'm bad at shit talking. I'm really terrible at like stirring the pot and everything like that. At least I think so. So I was like, all right, well, I don't really have an online presence aside from Twitch anyway, so I'll just like let it go and do its thing. And I thought it was going to fizzle out in a day or two or whatever it is, but then Chris Barnes kept talking about it. Outlets kept bringing it up. The bands, Corpse Grinder, fucking Alex from Undeath were talking about it, bringing it up. So I think that video probably got about 30,000 more views than it would have in general just because of Chris Barnes putting that up. And I was, there's a little bit of me that's, maybe I should have tried to do something to like, quote unquote capitalize on that or whatever, but like I'm not trying to get famous, dude. I'm not trying to like be the next like internet somebody or be an influencer or anything like that. I'm just trying to do my thing. And I don't know, I thought I don't know Chris Barnes personally, right? So I don't want to like say that he's a piece of shit or like he doesn't know what he's talking about or anything like that, but given the quality of his music over the past couple of years versus the quality of the people in that video and what they've been doing in the last even just like 2 years, I don't think that there is any way that you can say that, oh, this genre is in bad hands or I hate what the state of this genre has become with any sincerity and people will still take you seriously, especially when you're kind of producing the stuff that he's producing right now. So, yeah. But at the same time, like, this is just one of those things where, like, he's a shit stirrer, and that's going to happen. And when you have takes that are that bad, if it was just like a normal kind of like whatever, oh, it's Chris Barnes being Chris Barnes, I don't think it would have taken off as much as it did. But, doing what he said and then Jamie Josta getting into it to be like, hey, let's talk about this.
That Jamie Josta.
Let's talk about this. Like, tell us what you mean. And him like being, no, not going to. Like, I think that's when the fire really started and that match went out of everything because, like, I think that the death metal genre is about as healthy as it's ever been. I mean, you have Cannibal Corpse still being one of the best death metal bands in the world today, as well as, like, younger bands like your Undeaths, like your Gate Creepers, like your Creeping Deaths, like your Blood Incantations and your Tomb Molds that are just doing absolutely incredible stuff right now. And it just seemed like sour grapes from like not being included. And we never even said it was the top death metal bands or whatever. We were just like, look, these guys are pretty big in their field, which they are. We've got Corpse Grinder and Trevor as being like, the legends and the current bar, like where the current people are. And then you've got Chase and Alex where like the future is coming from, right? So we have many generations of that. And that's what the conversation was about because all four of those dudes are qualified to talk about that shit. So I don't know. It was it was one of those things where I recognize the biggest scare for me, honestly, was the increased eyeballs and everything to be like, oh shit, are people going to realize that I'm a fraud? Like, is this my moment where people realize that I don't know what I'm talking about? And it wasn't. That moment is still to come, everybody. It went without, and it was fine.
So for those that haven't checked out this video, please do go check it out. It is an incredible conversation with a bunch of incredible people. And the thing that hit me the most was the way you took it. I see Ryan Michael TV saying super down to earth way of handling the drama as well. Much respect. The idea that Jamie Jost, one of my favorite fucking people in the industry, said, you know what, let's have a conversation about it, or at least share some bands that you think are doing the right thing. Who are the guys that you're interested in? And I think that's where you guys and I'm lumping everybody that was in that video in this, kind of won people over because it's not just about who has the gnarliest death metal grunt. Like it was sharing information. You guys, all of you, Trevor shares bands that the band members haven't even heard of.
Yeah, exactly.
He shares music that the bassist hasn't seen the final mix of. And you do exactly that as well. And I think in terms of being underground and flying the actual metal flag instead of being like, fuck the new generation, it'll be like, well, are you supporting the new generation? And I thought that was the best part of the whole argument and that whole kind of series there.
Yeah, exactly. 'Cause that's it, man. Like okay, so let's say that you really do have a gripe with what is going on in the state of the world today in music or whatever it is, then like, okay, well, if you don't think that these guys are the ones that are leading the charge forward, like who are the ones? Like you're telling me that there's absolutely nobody at all, or like you can't point to a single one. So like, coming up and like pointing out a bunch of problems without, having the solutions, or at least suggesting solutions or whatever it is. Like that was the part where it's like, this isn't worth anybody's time, honestly. Like this is just an old dude with sour grapes doing the thing. And like, there it is. And it's fun to kind of point at and look at that. But, at the end of the day, it's someone who's losing whatever respect or credibility that they had trying to stay and remain relevant. And congratulations, it worked. It did work for a little while, but yeah, I don't know, like just saying that there's nothing, like it's the state of death metal is terrible, but then not even going in everything like that. It's just like, that's not a productive conversation. That's someone who's saying, my views are the right, your views are wrong, but I'm not going to engage in to say why, or I don't want to hear why. And once that happens, you can't engage. And yeah, and because you said it right, like that's what Trevor does whenever we hang out on Pulse of the Maggots, whenever he is a guest on Knotfest and everything, is just getting all of these bands that nobody has ever heard of that are like doing shit in the underground scene that are really cool. And that, that's what everyone I think who loves this music should at least try to do, whether even if it's just like, hey, someone like, hey, friend of mine, this is a cool band that I like, you should listen to them. Even that, like one-to-one is helping the genre move forward, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like getting out to thousands of people and saying this band is the next big thing. Just sharing music that you like with other people so that those bands get eyeballs or ears on them or whatever it is. Like that's the biggest thing that you can do for the genre. And I don't think that Chris Barnes is really doing that. So that's really all I've got to say on it. I don't want to like drag in more to any like drama or anything like that. But yeah, it was just one of those. It was
as Derpy just said. Newsflash.
Yeah. Well, actually, the last thing that I'll say on it is when you said, John, what did you do? I had a flashback because a couple of weeks after that whole thing went down, like it kept getting put back into the news cycle like every week because someone would say something
because he kept refreshing it too.
He kept refreshing it, and then outlets would ask people about it. Like I remember like maybe a month or so after all this stuff went down, Alex from Undeath, who was on that round table, basically said what we had said in email chains a month ago, is we should really send Chris Barnes a fruit basket because he got so many eyeballs on our album that's coming out their album's coming out on Friday, actually. But so it's like our album's coming out in the next couple of months. And, we would have never had that if not for him. So like, yeah, I don't agree with what he said, but thank you very much for all of us at Undeath, which is a great way to handle that. But so because of all of that, there was a show that Cannibal Corpse was playing on their tour where all of the audience was chanting, fuck Chris Barnes, fuck Chris Barnes. And, there are videos of it, and some of the metal outlets picked it up and put it out there. So I got an email at like 11:30 Central Time on a Wednesday night or something like that from like my contact, my boss. I don't want to say boss, but the person that I report to at Knotfest, that just said in basically all capital letters, John, what did you do? ? And I was like, oh my God, what happened? Like I was just like had never like opened an email fast enough. I basically almost broke my phone with my finger trying to like, finger almost went through the phone trying to tap that notification. I look and it's just like a screenshot of the article saying exactly what I just said. And I sent him a text message. I was like, motherfucker, don't you ever do that shit to me again. You know, I've got anxiety. Fuck you. But that's where I'll end it.
That's fucking awesome. That is fucking awesome. And yeah, I think you summarized it very well. And like you said, you guys actually fly the flag. You actually put effort into the scene, whether that happened or not. It was more eyeballs on your stuff, and that's never a bad thing. Never a bad thing for you as a streamer, for the Knotfest channel, for the bands that were involved. It's all fucking good. Rami has a question that actually caters to this. It's a great segue. Amongst thousands of bands, new bands, how do you think a new band can grab your attention?
For me, and this is just speaking for me personally, and I'm not like a music producer, I'm not like a music industry whiz, I'm not anybody who's like signing bands or anything like that. I'm just a random internet person. Or so I guess I should say a random Earth person with an internet connection, right? Those are my qualifications, everybody, just to let you know. But for me, for a band to grab my attention, honestly, it's the biggest thing I feel like is honesty and sincerity and just being genuine about what they are, because like I listen to a lot of music every day, right? And there's a lot of stuff where I listen to, it's like, oh yeah, those are cool riffs, or those are I like this structure, this band has a cool sound, right? But like the ones that punch through and make me feel something in here, whether it's because their riff is just like, monstrous and makes you feel something, or the vocals are saying something that like really pierce into you, or the melody that they have, pierces through everything. I think that's the biggest thing is, whenever I'm listening to music, because sometimes like I'm doing like going through playlists and stuff like that while I'm typing or doing a bunch of other stuff, or like I try to multitask. It's not great for my ADHD, but I do it. I can't have any. It's just the way that I do it.
You and I have all the same acronyms, I think.
Yeah. I know when like something reaches me because it will cut through everything that I'm doing and like force me to pay attention to it. And there are some times where I'm listening to a band or an album or something like that kind of passively in the background, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, I'm not doing what I'm doing anymore, I'm paying attention to this. And those generally are the albums, the bands, the songs that I go back to more. So obviously that's really hard to say, right? Oh yeah, just make good music or whatever, right? But I think that the biggest thing is to be genuine and to really give everything that you absolutely have to the music, and then just try and do whatever it is that you can to do that, I guess, because I get really whelmed, I guess, or like really happy when I hear a band that is doing their stuff, and then I look back and see, oh well, they've actually been a band for 10 years and this is only their like second album, because they've been refining their sound or touring for all this time, trying to make a name for themselves doing that, and in that time they've been able to find out what makes their band them and what gives them their sound. And that's not easy, right? That's one of the hardest fucking things that you can possibly do. And I feel like this is also saying like, oh well, just be a band for 10 years and eventually you find it. I don't think that is the case, but I do think that finding that extra whatever it is, and going with that and being true to yourself and being honest is one of the most important things. So I have two tangents from that, I guess, but semi-related. One of my favorite books is Stephen King's On Writing, where he basically tells you like, this is how I do my process. This is how I write and how I have developed this craft over time. This may not work for you, but this is what works for me, right? Which is amazing to hear people so successful just being like, this is what I do. You can do this too, sort of, right? And like, but he said like basically the same thing, just like, you have to give your craft, your art, your writing, your music, your food, whatever it is, you have to give it 100% everything, and lay everything out there, because people can differentiate between just wanting to do what you think is going to make money or what they think is going to give eyeballs or whatever, versus doing something that is inherent to you or your band or your art or whatever it is. And my second piece of advice, or not advice, I guess, because I'm not qualified to talk about this shit, but my second like anecdote on that is I was just talking, spoiler alert, to a conversation that's going to be coming up on Knotfest for a little bit. I was just talking to the lead singer of Audrey Horn, who they're a Norwegian band who wear their influences on their sleeve as far as like the 80s and 70s bands that they love, right? He was talking about how when they were trying to figure out this sound, as far as like dive really heavy into their influences, if it was too obvious or too over the top or too just whatever it is, and their producer was basically like, yeah, these references are obvious and everything like that, but you can tell that you're doing it from a place of love and a place that comes from you guys, and you respect the material and you love it and honor it, and you can do whatever it is that you want and steal whatever it is that you want, as long as there's one honest thing, one strong thing in there that nobody else has. And you can look to plenty of artists out there that have done this. Like, you hear something that like, yeah, it maybe have done before, but not like this type of thing.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's the biggest thing, is just be honest and work hard. I really think that those are like what it boils down to, is just be honest, work hard. And I know that is like not like, well, what the fuck? Like, yeah, but like it's fucking hard to get noticed. Like, it really, really, really is hard to get noticed.
You went very philosophical and much deeper than I personally expected. And I think, I don't know, Rami, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it could have been easier if you just went good snare. Like,
yeah.
What do you look for in a band? Double bass.
Yeah, well, it's I'll watch some Twitch guys that are, producers or have been around in the music industry for a little while, and they're listening to songs and they're like, oh yeah, the vocals need to be higher, the drums need to be lower in the mix, this needs to be that.
I see a bunch of people. Costas, what's going on, my dude? Hello, two of my favorite Twitch streamers. What's going on, Costas?
Man, nice to see you, dude.
Wow. From Trip Note over here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's when we rated you. We said if you can, if we asked if we could play his band.
Yeah, and we did. And they're really good. They're really good.
Rami says what he looks for in a band is the singer's mustache. Just that, for example. Costas being someone that stumbled into the chat, said, "Hey, by the way, I have a band. Do you guys mind if like I drop a link somewhere or something?" And I said, "Absolutely. I'm definitely down to check out bands." I think it was actually on the stream where we were actively looking for bands to check out.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he dropped the band in, and it just resonates with me. It was exactly the same sound that I listened to. It was just something that I fuck with, and I was like, damn, okay. Let's listen to a little bit more of this band. And then, I don't know, a couple of weeks later or whatever it was, we rated you guys. You said, what would you like to hear? And I was like, you know everything, John.
No, stop that rumor right now. It's a bloody lie.
You listen to music more than anyone I have ever met in my entire life. And you don't listen to singles. You're not a singles guy. You're not a like, let's hear the hit. You're like, let's put on the fucking album.
Yeah, I love
and go on this journey together.
Yeah.
So I was like, I gotta play you something. A little left of field. Something that you might not have heard. And I think that was a good call. Actually, speaking of you diving deep into albums, because you're definitely an album guy.
Yeah,
I don't think that's even a question. Singles versus albums. You're the guy that wants to buy the vinyl. You're the guy that wants to buy the album and sit there and listen to it front to back, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Is there? You mentioned Stephen King's writing process, and the book that you like the most is his take on writing. Is there a connection between writing and albums for you? Is there a story thing that is underlining all of these connections?
Yes and no. So like I try and find parallels through a lot of different things, especially in like with creative processes, right? Like I talked about cooking earlier when, with that, right? Because I think that cooking, especially like, full-time chefs in like nice restaurant chefs that actually care about the shit that they're putting on the plate and getting out are very creative people and think about what they're putting together in a way that, someone who's writing a novel or making an album or whatever else that they're doing can do, right? I think that anytime you're taking something that can be interpreted by the individual, there is a sort of commonality in the process somewhere in that, right? And while I think that obviously writing a novel or writing a book and creating an album are completely different things, I do think that there are similarities in there as far as, trying to think of the thing as a whole, right? Because trying to make an album versus just like getting singles out there in a little bit is a completely different thought experience. And you can't make an album without trying to make those single songs the best that they can be, right? But as we have a show that we do on Knotfest every Friday where we listen to a whole entire album that has come out that day with the artists. And one of the things that I've learned from that is that it is an entirely different thought process to try and arrange songs on an album and make it flow all the way through for a listener than it is to just like create the songs and put them in there and everything like that. Yeah. Like depending on the band and depending on the album, that's all like all of the same. But a lot of times it's like, okay, we have these 16 songs that we have for this album. We only can do 10 of them, and we need to figure out a way that is like the most enjoyable experience getting through. Like I love talking to artists about sequencing albums because it really gets into perspective as far as like, well, we wanted to start off this way and then bring them this way, and by this point do this and like relieve them here and then end that way. And it really is like a cinema almost, right? Like putting a film together as far as like, this is our establishing shot, this is where we're doing this is the climax of everything, this is our outro. And I really respect and appreciate artists that can do that. Because it's really fucking hard. Like it is really hard. And I'm not talking shit about people that only want to get out singles or whatever, right? Because there is merit in that. And especially in this day and age, that's something that can be done with great effect, right? Look at Spirit Box is like, I think one of the prime examples in metal doing that at this point in time. But certainly, putting, crafting a songs and putting that together, you definitely want to do that as well when you're putting those things together. But I love the thought process that goes into an album because putting an album together is fucking hard. And, we look at all of the albums that come out every single Friday and think about the hours and the sweat and the blood and the tears and the stress and the anxiety and the broken fucking things in the rooms or whatever went into every single one of those albums that we just kind of skim over every week, right? And it's like absolutely incredible. So I always try and congratulate any band that we have that we talk to that is either about to or have just released an album. This is hard fucking work. Yeah. And I don't know. I think I may have strayed from the original path from the question that we were asking.
That's what it's all about, John. That's what it's all about. First of all, Julian Gorilla, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub to Gigi Arabia. Massive shout out to Gigi Arabia. She started, John, I don't know if you know this, but Gigi Arabia started a production company in Saudi Arabia called Heavy Arabia.
Oh, fuck yeah.
That is just for metal bands in Saudi Arabia. To be able to put on shows, release music. Hopefully, I think she's got touring plans, a whole bunch of things. And not only for the local Saudi Arabian scene, Saudi Arabia is going to be a stop on the map for bands coming to the Middle East for a little tour. mind-boggling. She really threw down. So Julian, thank you for gifting that tier 1 sub to GG Arabia.
Yes.
Costa says, I like it when you put an album to listen and the whole album sounds like one big song. I think that's the thought process behind it that John was talking about. Like, you related it to cooking, and I don't know how to cook, but I watch a lot of Chef Ramsay.
Yeah. Then you know how to cook. Just pick up any tip from him and you know how to cook.
Where's the lamb sauce? That's basically it. I think concept albums that link together, even as far back as like System of a Down for me, just not having the song stop and start, but it just kind of going. Did we just get a raid? What's going on?
We did.
Lingo, thank you for the raid, you absolute
up,
fucking
Lingo?
Badass. What's going on, Lingo?
Oh shit!
Pee-pee, everyone's yelling pee-pee in the chat.
I gotta pee so bad.
All right. Well, you can jump out while I just give these guys some love here.
Yeah, do that. It doesn't take me very long. I've perfected this. I've been within 10 steps of a bathroom for like the last 2 years, so we know what we're doing.
All right, cool. Lengo, thank you. Everybody yelling all of the peepees. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. Shayes, what's going on? Kuldrin, why do you guys have names that I can't pronounce? Why do you guys do that to me? It's going very well. Thank you guys for being here. We have a podcast on today. We have our guest, John Garcia, Stay Puft Mallow from Knotfest. If you are new here, Mohamedine, what's going on? Shay, I'm just going to say Shay. Shay, yes, there you go. What's going on, Shay? Killer Din, what's going on? Kaneko Kid, hi. So for everybody that's new here, I see a couple of new chatters in the thing. My name's Adnan. I live in Dubai. I scream in a metal band called Svengali. And 4 times a week, we stream here on Twitch. All kinds of things, rock and metal. DK Loser, what's going on? If you're into the rocks and the metals or any kind of music, alternative music, hit the follow. There you go. Welcome to the tribe, my friend. Thank you, Shay. And today we have a podcast. We have our guest, John Garcia, Stay Puft Mallow, from a channel called Knotfest on today. And let's bring him back. He's back over here. Exclamation point guest to check out his links.
I feel so much better.
Have you heard Crescent or Mesaloon? Of course I have, Shay. Crescent from Egypt, Mesaloon from Syria. I'm from the Middle East. That's basically the thing I started with is to promote Middle Eastern metal bands. We were listening to your music on my stream. Oh, thank you, Lingo. Thank you, everybody. You guys are very sexy. That's all.
This is true.
I just want to say, you guys are.
I can see each and every one of you, and you're all beautiful people.
And Jake from my saloon is a dear friend. Oh hell yeah, I had him on the podcast as well. I had Jake on the podcast a couple of months ago actually. But it is a crazy world. It is a crazy little community that we have here, John.
Yeah.
Wait, you have a podcast? Yes, Lars. And for those that do not know or missed the conversation, the podcast will be up on YouTube in its entirety, and it'll be up on Spotify. Holy crap, DK Loser, thank you for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs to the community.
Yeah, look at that.
Just came in, you absolute badass. Thank you. Holy crap. Genuinely appreciate it. That goes a long way. Thank you, man. Genuinely
Fuck
appreciate it. So John, let's discuss a little bit about your perception of this thing that we're talking about. Lingo just rated us. Shay hit the follow. DK Loser gifted 10. DK Legend, exactly, gifted 10 subs to the channel. You're on 2 different channels, on the Knotfest and on your own one, and you get to experience this kind of support where you're able to do this full time now.
Yeah.
Is there any part of you that knew this existed before you started? Is there any part of you that thought that, you know what, with the help of a community, someone would be able to sustain themselves from a Twitch stream, or was this new basically when you started?
So I knew it was possible, obviously, right? Because content creators, full-time YouTubers, and all of that have been around for, I mean, like, I feel like a decade at this point, if not longer. But did I ever think that that was something that I could do? No, absolutely not. And that was one of the, talking about your inner saboteur and everything like that. That's, one of those things that I had to get over, and then really open the door of be like, well, maybe this is possible, right? Because if you go into something thinking, no, that's not possible, then like, what the fuck are you doing? But when I started, I articulated to a couple of different people, and very much believe, and still believe to this day, that I wasn't doing it to get famous. I wasn't doing it to like quit my job or whatever. Like at the end of the day, I was starting it just because I wanted a place to talk about heavy metal and hopefully share some stuff that I really like with people, in hopes that they like it, and also get recommendations for stuff that other people like that I may like, because I can only find so much shit, right? But yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of like gobsmacked a little bit, because I think if it weren't for like two big things are the reason why I'm able to do this full time right now. And it's, biggest one is, the gig at Knotfest and everything like that, right? I certainly am able to pay a higher percentage of my bills through the checks that Knotfest sends me versus the checks that Twitch sends me. And, because we're still growing there, and it is, we do have a lot of people on there that, send out 10 gift subs, just like DJ Legend did for you, as well as like donations and everything like that. And I've been able to, buy this microphone and all this gear and everything else to, basically all of that goes back into the channel. So I'm not really, quote unquote, making money off of my personal channel. So that's a big thing. And also having a partner who also works and is patient and able to be like, okay, yes, you can quit the job that you don't want to do your thing, and we'll figure everything else out from there. Like we had a lot of conversations with that when I was, basically working 2 full-time jobs, doing this and my past job at the same time. But yeah, like after a little while, it was one of those things that, like, I went into like a couple of groups that, that talk about this type of stuff as far as like wanting to turn a side gig into a full-time gig. I hired a coach to figure out like how to put everything into perspective and what to focus on and everything like that, which really helped. That was at the very beginning of 2021, I think. And that was just a resource to be like, hey, I'm thinking this and I'm doing this. Like, what do you think? Someone who had, gone through the same type of stuff. And to have that resource there was really, really important. And through those avenues and through talking with people that way, it started to realize like, oh, you're never ready to actually like take that leap and do, pull the parachute or, jump out of the plane, not knowing whether there's a parachute in your backpack or not, and try and do that. But I heard and saw from several different people a lot of the things that I was going through as far as like, not satisfied or happy with what they were doing right now. They were able to, save up just like a little bit of money, and they figured that trying to put all of their time into doing something that they wanted to do versus making a paycheck from some other place sounded a lot more appealing than when they're at. And that's basically the point that I got to as well, that, I can either deal with trying to figure out where my money is going to be coming from or doing all this stuff so I could focus on this other thing, rather than just keep doing the thing that I don't want to be doing anymore. And thankfully I was able to, to have this gig with Knotfest to really, buoy that a lot more, because without that, probably be, in the food stamps line and everything like that. But I also wasn't making a lot of money at my last job to begin with. Like I was okay, right? Like I was never worried about where my rent money was coming from or where groceries were coming from or anything like that. But, Nashville is relatively affordable in some cases, not so affordable in others. And the cost of living has been rising a lot anyway. And I was started to get to a point where I was feeling the pinch in the spot that I was usually at. And then with the hours that I was putting in with Knotfest, it was like, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I was pulling in before, but it's kind of starting to get pretty close. So that's when I really started to think as far as like, okay, like I feel all right now because I've got two sources of income, but I would just be back to basically where I was a few years ago before I started this job anyway, where I was working at a call center, living paycheck to paycheck. But this time I wouldn't be hating my existence every, 9 hours of every day at this soul-sucking place. I would be able to, wake up and listen to music, or wake up and interview people, or wake up and prep shows, or whatever it is. So, yeah, starting off, it definitely seemed like, well, that's something that happens to other people, and I'm okay with that. And now it's like, well, I still feel like I've got a long ways to go, right? Like I'm not Nick Nocturnal, I'm not 66 Samus, I'm not a whole lot of these other people, but I've only been doing this thing for 20 minutes versus some people who have been doing this shit for 20 years, right? We talked about this when you were on my stream. It takes a little while to become a somebody, right? Like I'm still a nobody right now, but I'm hoping I can do this and put in the work for the next few years, and hey, maybe eventually I'll graduate into a somebody.
And I think the definition of that, the definition of success changes for different people, but also for the same person, because it's not necessarily carved out in stone. I mean, you mentioned Nick Nocturnal and Samus and Bees, and there's a ton of people that we look up to, DK and Hunter and everybody that does this thing. I think the definition of success for me is something that you mentioned out earlier, is just having that tight-knit community that kind of relies on each other. You share music, you shed light on a band, you get to have conversations with people that you listen to. Like fucking Trevor from Black Dahlia is your co-host. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty bonkers.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Thanks for Corey for that one. She's the one who was able to bring him in. She had a past relationship with him, but even then, it's just like, fuck, man, like fuck.
And I think this goes out to everybody that's in the creative field in general, whether you're making music or streaming or making art or anything like that. Don't necessarily compare yourself, first of all, to anyone else, but
100%.
also have that dynamic relationship with goals, because the first goal can be getting your song on fucking Bandcamp. Like I've met some younger bands that are like, we never got the whatever it was 10,000 plays on Spotify. It's like, just get on Bandcamp, have 10 people buy it. 10 physical people went out of their way and spent their money on your song or your album. Like that's the first goal. And then change that as you grow. And I think that's one of the biggest things I learned streaming and stuff. It's like a therapy from my point of view. Hell yeah.
Can I go back to something that you mentioned about that dynamic changing and stuff like that, right? I read a book in 2020. It's a little bit cliche nowadays, I feel like, but it's a really quick sort of self-help book that is just like really to the point. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. It's very quick. It's just written by some internet blogger, right? But as weird as that kind of sounds, he gets into a lot of points that are just like, look, here's what you said, Adnan, about like, don't compare yourself to anybody, or like, have your changing goals or whatever it is. He breaks things down in a way that's like, okay, yeah, you can start to feel like why some of the shit that is stopping you from doing stuff doesn't matter. And one of the things getting into comparing yourself against everybody, which is perfect for this podcast, is he compared Megadeth and Metallica, right? Because, or Dave Mustaine specifically, because he was in Metallica, got kicked out. Metallica goes on to be one of the biggest fucking bands in the world, right? Biggest metal band of all time, most likely, depending on who you talk to. No doubt their cultural and historical significance in the world that we live in, as far as like the music that we listen to nowadays. But like when you look at Megadeth, right? They're no slouches either, as far as like what they've done, how influential they are, how much success that Dave Mustaine has had, and all of that other stuff. But he mentioned an interview with Dave Mustaine that was saying all the success that he had for a little while, he felt like a fucking failure because Metallica was bigger than Megadeth, basically.
But the clip that's playing in my head is that that sit down they had with Lars from Some Kind of Monster.
Yeah.
You know what it feels like to be second?
Yeah.
What? You're like first in everything else.
Exactly. And that was the thing, as far as like those are the ways that you have to kind of like balance yourself, as far as, for in Dave's, like anybody else in the world would have traded places with Dave Mustaine in a heartbeat, right? But Dave felt like a failure to himself because he was comparing himself to this and what else it could have been, and it took him a really long time to be able to like come to terms with what he was doing and be comfortable where he's at right now. And that's the danger of comparing yourself to other people, which is why like I get in my head about that even still to this day, and I have to check myself because I'll see people doing things or being like, oh, well, they're putting in so much more work than I am, or whatever it is. And it's like, no, you just gotta take a step back and remember that you are still in the early stages of everything. For like, you don't know where your chapter 2 is versus somebody else's chapter 10, right? You don't know where everybody else is on their journey. So just do whatever it is. Just stay in your lane, I guess, and focus on yourself, and don't really worry about everything else that's going on, because other people's success doesn't necessarily determine whether you will be successful and shouldn't have an impact on whether you feel happy or not. So once you start going down that road, let me tell you, it is a slippery slope, and it will not make you feel very good if you dwell on it.
Absolutely. Shay says, I was working on a painting and Lingo wants to buy it. Totally unexpected, but now it is helping me plan my goals. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, there you go. It's little steps, right? Just any little thing. You don't have to think about like, oh, well, I want to take over the world. It's just like, you know what? I want to fucking, not even just like sell a painting. I want to finish a painting, because like I'm bad about finishing projects. Like, motherfucker, I'm going to finish this thing, and that is going to be my progress. And you just go from there.
100%. Cuss is saying Dave has issues. He was creating music only to compare with Metallica. That's not cool. Yeah, see, that's kind of what we're saying. If it starts off that way, but I mean, you can't hold that as a grudge, like you're fucking Megadeth as well at the same time, which is absolutely insane. But one other thing that I learned along the path is, and we have this conversation a lot on the podcast, because I genuinely, truly believe in it, is, high tide raises all ships. Rising tide raises all boats, whatever the fucking quote is.
Of course.
I genuinely believe that they're, like, for example, having R2 channels, be friends, the communities that are in common, you guys rating us, shouting us out, us rating you, shouting cost us out, all that interlaced thing that happens where everybody kind of grows together doesn't exist as much as I'd like outside of the Twitch realm. Local scenes, everybody's like talking shit behind everybody's back. We just talked about fucking what's his name? God, I already forgot his name. Chris Barnes.
Oh yeah,
Chris Barnes hating on a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
I think the way to approach it, other than being dynamic in terms of like your goals, is just do it with fucking good intention, and don't try to pull anyone down. Yeah. So you can go up. That's kind of something I learned along the path.
Yeah, 100%, and like, I keep that in mind all the time when I'm doing stuff, which is why I'm like not trying to shit talk bands when I listen to stuff, or, we'll listen to anything once. Like, obviously I've got my opinions on what I like or don't like or think is like actually awful in my sense, right? But like, I don't know. I don't want to be a shitster. I don't want to do anything like that. I genuinely dislike confrontation and will do whatever I can to avoid it, which may or may not be a good thing, but also like, and I'm not trying to like appease people, right? I'm not trying to change who I am or bend over backwards to make people like me. But also at the same time, I'm not going to go out of my way to give people a reason to try and dislike me or anything like that. Yeah, so I think that just treating people with respect and treating people the way that you want to be treated, golden rule for a reason. I think it's so important because, I've been belittled in my life and I've been talked down to or like talked over or like made to feel that my opinions were lesser because of whatever they are, right? And it fucking feels bad. And I don't want anybody to feel like this, especially in a genre of music that is very much taken in by, outcasts and freaks and rejects or people that don't feel like they belong in popular society or in other places. Like we can find a home for all of those people here. And that gets back to my, distaste of elitism and gatekeeping and everything like that. Like how many times do you hear people say like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter like anything, like as long as you're metal, but that doesn't always exactly happen out in the real world. And I want to make sure that wherever anybody else or wherever anywhere else there's at least a fun, safe, inclusive space that we've got, that we can have our disagreements and we can have our unpopular opinions. We can bust our balls just like you love to do.
I was waiting for the balls to be busted.
Yeah, they will always be busted. But we still respect each other and love each other and know that differences are okay. And if we all liked the same shit, this world would be really fucking boring.
Yeah. And Derpy, you maniac! Thank you for gifting the 2 subs to Costas and to Shay. You guys, yeah, you know what to do. Thank you, Derpy Paws, for supporting the show. She's gifted 607. You're so close to 666. Once you unlock the devil, you I don't think there's anything more you can do.
You will wear a devil suit on the stream.
If you unlock. Let's not do that. She'll do it. She's fucking crazy.
I was gonna see. I was like, oh, he might go for this. So just come in with the red bodysuit with the plastic pitchfork and everything like that.
Yeah, I'll go full.
Happen. Bug him until this happens.
The onesie, the bodysuit onesie. That's the one we need. But thank you guys. Does it have to stop at 666? I mean. Where do you imagine it being 667 at some point? You just can't. You got to stop at 666. But yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask you, while we wind down a little bit here, is the reach that's been happening for us on Twitch in terms of like just meeting different people like Costas from Greece with his band. The guys from Bollywood, in Bloodywood, sorry, in India. There's a bunch of different bands from you're all around Europe that jump in chat and showcase their music, or people showcase their friends' bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit about even like Gigi Arabia, who started Heavy Arabia, a company in Saudi Arabia for that stuff. Have you since starting this? What is how do I phrase this? What is the trajectory of metal that you've seen? Are we getting better at this? Is basically what I'm trying to ask. Is there hope? Are we growing again? Because for a time, for the last couple of years, we lost it, dwindled. There were no webzines. There were very few people talking about music. There were very few YouTube channels, and I feel like we're the ball is rolling again. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, so one of the reasons that I wanted to start streaming when I did is because it felt like there was like a low simmer in the heavy metal online world for a little while, especially towards the end of 2020, right? We've all been inside. We've all been listening to all the records that we loved, a lot of the records that we are discovering for the first time, rediscovering bands, finding out bands for the first time, right? Because we had nothing else to fucking do. And that only ramped up in 2021 when I was like, here, you want a fire hose worth of album releases because nobody else is able to do anything? Here it is. And it felt like once the world could open up and people started to go to shows again, and actual like big international tours and stuff like that could happen, felt like maybe there were going to be a lot more people coming out to some shows from bands that they wouldn't have gone to before the pandemic because of the ones that they had discovered during the pandemic. So it felt like there was an upward trajectory as far as all there needs is a spark, and then boom, here we go. So, and the rest is just going to be my opinion, because I am, like, again, not qualified to talk about anything. I've not been in the heavy music online scene for a very long time, so I can't say historically what has been happening or where it's going or anything like that.
Just my very biased opinion. I genuinely think you need to quit saying that preface. As someone that's done it for at least this while, and has several different topics and shows and stuff. You are the authority. I mean,
as far as historically where the online heavy metal has been and all that, I don't fucking know. So, like,
but from what you know in your position, yes, you are qualified, my friend.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you for that confidence boost. See, I still tell you, I deal with this shit on a daily basis. So it's an ongoing journey. I think that whether it will be successful or not, I don't know, because that is hard to gauge. But I definitely do feel like there are at least more places that are willing to try and be these places for people to find their heavy metal at, right? There are a lot, I mean, especially like looking on YouTube nowadays, there's so many, reaction channels, whether it's people that are metalheads reacting to metal or people that are not metalheads reacting to metal. Like, how many different Hallowed Be Thy Names or Demon of the Falls or Devin Townsend live at the Royal Albert Hall reactions have you seen over the last couple of years? Because, people are realizing, like, holy shit, all these preconceived conceptions and notions about metal that I've had are wrong, and there are things that I can get into. So there's definitely that, and there's places, like Knotfest, like, DWP is another Twitch channel that brings in like thousands of people every week that are just like, here are the next bands, and here are the bands that are going to be on our festivals, and really engage with people like that. I know Amazon, I think Bees would just announce that he's doing stuff with actual Amazon Music, like their Twitch channel and stuff like that, right? So, looking at all of that, there are at least avenues, right, that are starting to be utilized and starting to be used from that. And we're trying to, at Knotfest, talk to the artists that we can, and, hopefully do things down the road that brings more people together, and like have all of these avenues for people to get in. So I definitely think over the last like couple of years through the pandemic, there has been an explosion as far as places that want to do this. And I also think, and this is why I champion this so much, is blurring those genre lines and bringing those walls down, and mixing genres or people that aren't associated with metal or different types of music, and putting all of that together, I think will also increase the eyes on the heavy metal world, whether that's, Ghost headlining Hellfest, or Turnstile playing fucking Coachella, or Gatecreeper, one of the only death metal bands playing on Post Malone's Posty Fest, right? Where there are a bunch of like rappers and hip hop artists and shit like that. I really hope that that's one of the things that can be taken away from the pandemic, as far as like, mixing cultures and bridging gaps between artists and creators that may not be doing stuff together and things like that. I think that is so important. So I think that we're in a good spot right now where everybody's hungry. Everybody wants to hear, new stuff. And also, to my point earlier, your Metallicas and your Iron Maidens and your Kisses and your Def Leppards and your Guns N' Roses and all your legacy acts that are the go-to spot to headline festivals now, not going to be around for that much longer. Like, I'm not saying that I'm ready for them to like get out of the way or anything like that, because I still would like to see Metallica and Iron Maiden a couple more times.
About to say, I'm not ready for them to die, but
yeah, well, like fucking like we don't know, right?
Yeah.
But like, so in 10 years, none of like are any of those bands going to be around anymore or able to tour, able to play? And then what's going to happen to all these festivals after that? So I think we're in a spot where there is so much good stuff right now. And yeah, the industry and music selling and tours and making money and all that other stuff sucks. And I don't know the ins and outs of booking and touring and all of that. So I could be wishing for stuff that doesn't happen, but I hope that your downloads and your Bloodstocks and your Welcome to Rockvilles and like all of those other types of festivals will start taking chances on newer upcoming artists that have been around for a little bit, your Ghosts and your Gojiras and even other bands who you might not think could headline right now, but yeah, give them like a lower tier slot and see what they can do, and actually take chances on those artists to actually get them out there and do that. Because I feel like there are some perceptions of metal just being like, oh, it's classic rock nowadays, it's Guns N' Roses and Metallica and what our parents used to listen to or some shit. And there's so many new and exciting bands out there that can really champion and spearhead our culture and our way of listening and looking at the world and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that everything has to be on the radio with Ariana Grande or whatever the fuck, but some Post Malone collaborating with Ozzy Osbourne is fucking cool. I would love to see Turnstile. Could you imagine Turnstile doing something with like Tyler the Creator, Kendrick Lamar, or something like that? Like that would be sick as fuck, and that would only get eyes more into our world and uses those gateway bands to really get into stuff. Because guess what, people, you may not like your Five Finger Death Punches, your Godsmacks or whatever, but if not for those bands, your butt rocks, but if not for those bands, lots of people would never have discovered fucking Entombed or Death or whatever the fuck else.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And speaking on Post Malone featuring Ozzy Osbourne, I saw a few. It wasn't just a single comment, but a few people in the chat of not the chat, in the comment section of those songs, where metalheads were upset that new people were finding out about Ozzy Osbourne, not knowing who it was, saying Post Malone gave this guy Ozzy a chance. I'm gonna go check out Ozzy's discography, and a bunch of metalheads were very upset, but I couldn't be happier. Imagine like an 18-year-old, I think his audience might be a little younger, but like an 18-year-old Post Malone fan that has no idea what Ozzy Osbourne is.
Yeah, and gets to listen to Bark in the Moon for the first time because they're like, who the fuck is this dude? That's
exactly the song that I went to, and I thought, imagine playing that and going, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
For the very first time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great for our community. That's a huge advantage to us, instead of like, the more elitist way of looking at it, like, this band is mine, I'm not going to share it with anybody else kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Share your stuff, everybody. If you're proud of something, then fucking get it out there and listen to it. I remember in 7th grade, all goes all the way back, this is like a core memory, but it like burns into my mind to this day. One of my friends was like, hey, there's this band that I discovered, but you can't listen to them because I discovered them. And I was like, and now like it's like, what kind of like way is that to think of like, no, I discovered this thing and it's only mine and I can't, nobody. I was like, that's not what the point of fucking music is, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what else? You and I specifically have been talking about doing a show together, other than the podcast, where we got to know each other a little better. Where my sole purpose, and you, as everybody watching this on Twitch right now, you, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on Spotify, our sole purpose will be to introduce John to as many good metal bands from primarily the Middle East, but obscure locations, because I know there's a lot of you guys watching that are from just outside of the Middle Eastern region, but just regions that don't necessarily have enough eyeballs on them.
Right.
And I'm very excited to get that show rolling, because I think,
Yeah.
like you were saying, there's something happening. There's something boiling, and never in my lifetime, being from the Middle East myself, thought that Saudi Arabia would be a stop for a tour in like whatever the Cannibal Corpse's route anytime soon. That's not something that I thought I would ever see in my lifetime, but there are people working on that right now. There are people doing that right now, and I want to sit there with you and dig deep into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's fucking exciting because, like, kind of as you were saying, right? Like a band like Bloodywood, like how many more people are going to be looking at the Indian scene because a band like that has kind of like broken through and got out, right?
Yeah.
I know that there are tons and tons of people that really focus a lot on like the Japanese metal scene and stuff like that. And I think that like for where we're at, in I'm in the U.S., right? So the Western audience, there's a lot of focus on your North America and your Europes and stuff like that, and you're some South America, right? Thanks to Sepultura and everything like that. But it really is like a focus on, North America and Europe. And there are so many different flavors and styles of music that we have yet to be discovered to. And I know that there are places, Metal Hammer and things like that are trying to get more coverage and more places out there to start doing, your Indian metal hub or your Middle Eastern metal hub or your, Asian metal hubs, stuff like that. And I think that's only going to be good for metal, because speaking of like another band, not necessarily your neck of the woods, but a good example is the Who, the Mongolian metal band, right? I saw them, they're playing in Nashville in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to go see them, but I saw them at a festival, and it was very clear that they only spoke like 4 to 5 phrases of English because they were just saying those ones over and over. And it was just like, are you having good time? Are you want rock? Ooh, they would just like yell that. But because of the music that they were playing, fucking everybody was into it. Language didn't matter, man. They were just playing some bouncy shit, and like people were stopping. Not even like anywhere close to the stage or anything, as they were like walking around and stopping to watch them from way far down because of how infectious they were. And like that kind of gets back into like the OG question of being authentic and being being true to yourselves and finding that thing that makes you. But yeah, that we need more of that, and hopefully there are eyeballs on parts of the world that haven't gotten eyeballs on them gotten to before. And I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else, as much as I try to kind of like look out for everything, which is why I'm fucking stoked that one of these days, Adnan, we will do it.
We will make it
happen.
I mean, streamers' times are frantic. Is that a good descriptive word?
Yeah.
Free time is sporadic, and everything else is frantic. I think describes a streamer's day generally. But you guys have been fucking killing it with everything you're doing on your own channel, on the Knotfest channel. The sheer like voice that you guys bring to the Knotfest channel, the amount of people you've had on the show, asking them about their upcoming albums or the previous albums or the tours and stuff, and you're not the kind of guy that just goes, tell me about your next album. You dig deep, John, which I'm a big fan of. I pull a lot of inspiration from your streams, and I think one thing that I can very, very confidently say is the enthusiasm and the passion that you bring to the table is fairly unmatched as of yet on the Twitch spheres.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I'm excited to do what I do every day, and I recognize the privilege and the the opportunity to talk to artists that people love, right? And so I don't ever want to be someone who just like, well, what is your favorite color? What is, like, obviously there are like the spots for those types of questions, but I love just being able to figure out what makes a creative's brain tick, and especially if it's someone that I really respect or love as an artist or musician, or know that people really do, because I'm like, you know me, I could talk about this shit for fucking ages. That's what I did, like on Twitch. That's what we do, 3-4 hours, just me, blah, 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 blah. And I recognize that other people who are passionate about that can as well, and not only can, but want to talk about it. And if someone's putting out an album or, you know, touring in a band or making this their life, then chances are that they're pretty passionate about it. And I just relish in the fact that we're able to do that and bring it to so many people. And there's more behind the scenes. I'm hoping that we can do a lot more stuff from the stuff that we were talking about, that we want to do, because we're not satisfied now. We want to do more and reach more people and do more things that we can. And I'll also flip that compliment right back to you, sir. Everything that you're also an inspiration here with the community that you've created and the people that you've surrounded yourself with, and bringing attention to bands that nobody would be listening to otherwise, right? And getting them out there and just really being a fucking bastion for Middle Eastern metal and just metal in general, my friend.
Thank you, my dude. I genuinely appreciate that. Tribe, you know the drill. You know how we end these shows. I have one last question for you, John.
Yeah.
John, the question. But before I say that, if anyone here hasn't hit the follow button already, please do. It goes a long way. If you have the means, do subscribe. It keeps the lights on. Literally keeps the lights on around here. And join our Discord if you want to have conversations with like-minded people from around the world.
The lights went off. Everybody, click that follow button.
Wait, someone actually did turn the lights off. They have control of the lights.
All right, well, I guess I'll match with you now. We're finish this interview in the dark, like a bunch of creeps.
Lights are off. Oh, thank you, Derpy. I guess it was Derpy who turned the lights off. If you don't know how to do that, there's a bunch of buttons under the thing. But let's get a little weird here. Let me stretch out. Let me turn off the background music real quick. You guys,
yeah.
Let me let's get closer. Let me. You guys, that's way too close.
Whoa!
Let's ask John a question, but let's get serious here. Let's get a little low. John, before the Twitch streams, before Knotfest, before your own Twitch streams, before finding out about all kinds of music-related journalism and all that stuff, if you had a time machine, you were to go. That light blinded me. If you had a time machine and you were to go back in time to meet young John, just before you started kicking off and really falling in love with music, and you had a chance to talk to young John, what would you say?
I would probably say to not dull your shine for anybody else, and to never feel embarrassed or ashamed or scared to show your authentic true self, and to not be afraid to put yourself out there. I think those would probably be like, when I do a lot of self-reflection and thinking about, things I could have done, or like how I got to the point that I got to today, and, the mistakes that I made or the choices that could have been made at some points or whatever. At the end of the day, it all led me to here, right? So I'm not going to say that I made bad decisions or regrets or anything like that, because at this point in time, I'm exactly where I want to be. But I think realizing those two things a little bit earlier probably would have headed off some rough terrain that we went through a little bit. And yeah, I'm still on a growing journey, I think, but I think though that would probably be the most important thing that I'd want my younger budding metalhead self to know, is to be authentic to who you are and to never feel bad about it, and not to dull yourself for anybody else, and to put yourself out there even if it's scary.
Hell fucking yeah. fucking yeah! With a clap, you guys. That was one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite
you're
answers
too kind.
to that. So, I think that should be our raid phrase, you guys. Everybody, be real. Fuck you. Should be our raid phrase. We're gonna go jump over to our good friend Julian Gorilla's channel.
Fuck yeah.
He's a homie. You guys know already. He's a band manager. He's some people say he looks like me, so he is gorgeous. I'd like to add.
I don't think he looks like you really at all. But both of you are gorgeous, so like who cares?
You're a band manager too, asshat. Julian, why are you in this chat? You're live.
His own. It's like I'm waiting for the raid. I got to be there. I got to be ready for it.
But yeah, everybody yell be real, fuck you to Julian. John, thank you so much. Thank you for the conversation. It's been a fucking blast. If you guys haven't already, please go follow. We'll also post the links over on our Discord. And John also has an amazing community on Discord. So make sure you go click all of the links.
All of them. Every single one of them.
Every single one of them. To everybody that all you maniacs. Derpy, thank you for the 2 gifted subs. DK Loser, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Shay, welcome to the tribe and welcome to the channel. Grumpo Stillskin, what's going on? Everybody, Lingo for the raid, Julian for the gifted sub to Gigi, Sayed Epo for buying a whole bunch of $86 worth of merch. I don't. Jesus,
yeah, decked out.
What did you even buy? I didn't think we had $86 worth of merch. But yeah, thank you for everything, John. We end the show with whatever last words you have for the tribe, and then whenever you're ready, whenever you feel like it is time, you say the words "hit the outro," and that will officially end the show. So take it away.
All right. Well, first off, man, thank you so much for having me on. It has been a blast. We will do this again, and I'll bring you on my channel again. It is for sure. You're always welcome over there. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for the chat, my friend. You're a good one. As far as last words, everybody, treat everybody the way that you want to be treated, and bring more empathy into this world because it is sorely lacking in it. And just be excellent to each other, everybody. I'd not hit that outro.